So I will be picking up where we left off in the last video. We'll be reading The Power of Six by Pittacus Lore. We'll be starting with chapter 11. Let me know in the comments if you're still liking the book. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. I would like to see a lot of likes being hit. I don't know. I had a really funny pun for that or something, but I lost it. Anywho, I've had a lot of sugar today, so I'm like a little bit... I'm sorry. Anyway, sometimes I get really crazy manic, I don't know, sugar highs and stuff. I think I'm going through one right now. So anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to read because I don't remember anything that I was going to say earlier. But I hope you're still liking this video, this channel. Hope you're still enjoying these books. Hopefully there won't be a cat interrupting again, but you never know. Chapter 11. The things I remember about coming to Santa Teresa are mostly just snippets of a long journey I thought would never end. I remember an empty stomach and sore feet, and being impossibly tired most of the time. I remember Adelina begging for change, for food. Remember the seasickness and the vomiting it caused. I remember disgusted looks from passers-by. I remember every time we changed names, and I remember the chest, as cumbersome as it was, that Adelina refused to part ways with no matter how dire our situation became. On the day we finally knocked at the door, Sister Lucia answered. I remember it being on the ground, tucked snug between Adelina's feet. I know she stowed it away in the shadows of some obscure corner of the orphanage. My days of searching have turned up nothing, but I still keep looking. On Sunday, 1 week after Ella arrived, we sit together in the back pew during Mass. It's her first, and it holds her attention about as well as it holds mine. Not at all. Aside from class, she's pretty much been by my side since the morning I helped her make her bed. We walk to and from school together, eat breakfast and dinner together, say our nightly prayers together. I've grown very attached to her, and by the way she follows me around, I can tell she's grown attached to me as well. Father Marco has droned on for a good 45 minutes, and finally, I close my eyes, thinking of the cave and debating whether I should bring Ella along with me today. There are several problems with it. First, there's zero light inside, and there's no way Ella will be able to see through the dark in the way that I can. Second, the snow has yet to melt, and I'm not sure she'd be able to make the trek through it. But most of all, I worry that bringing her would be putting her in harm's way. The Mogadorians could arrive at any moment, and Ella would be defenseless. But even with these obstacles and concerns, I'm eager to take her along anyway. I want to show her my paintings. On Tuesday, minutes before we were to depart from school, I had found Ella hunched over on her bed, still chewing on a breakfast biscuit. I looked over her shoulder to see her furiously shading a perfect drawing of our sleeping quarters. The details, the technical accuracy of each crack in the wall, her ability to capture the faintest of squares of sun rays that dropped through the windows in the morning, was astounding. It was as if I was looking at a black and white photograph. "Ella!" I had blurted. She had flipped the paper over, trapping it against her schoolbook with her tiny smudged hands. She knew it was me, but didn't turn around. "Where did you learn how to do that?" I had whispered. "How did you learn to draw so well?" "My father," she whispered back, keeping the drawing turned over. "He was an artist. So was my mother." I'd sat down on her bed, and here I thought I was a pretty good painter. "My father was an incredible painter," she'd said plainly. Before I could ask her more questions, we had been interrupted and then ushered out of the room by Sister Carmela. That night I found Ella's drawing under my pillow. It's the best present I have ever received. Sitting in Mass, I think that maybe she can help me with my cave paintings. Surely I can find a flashlight or lantern somewhere here to take with us. And then my thoughts are interrupted by a fit of giggles beside me. I open my eyes and look over. Ella's found a red and black furry caterpillar that's in the process of crawling up her arm. I bring my finger to my lips in a sign of silence. It stops her for a brief moment, but then the caterpillar climbs higher and she begins giggling again. Her face turns and red while trying not to laugh, but the fact that she's trying to stifle it only makes it that much harder, and that Then she can't help herself and a string of laughs escape. Every head snaps around to see what's happening, and Father Marco stops his sermon in mid-sentence. I snatch the caterpillar from Ella's arm and sit upright, staring back at those staring at us. Ella stops laughing. Slowly the heads turn back around, and Father Marco, clearly flustered and having lost his spot, resumes his sermon. I sit with my hand around the caterpillar. It tries wiggling free. After a minute I open my fist, and the sudden movement causes the furry little thing to curl into a ball. Ella raises her eyebrows and cups her hands together, and I place the caterpillar in them. She sits there smiling down at it. I scan the front row. I'm not at all surprised to see Sister Dora glaring sternly in my direction. She shakes her head before turning back to Father Marco. I lean over to Ella. "When prayer ends," I whisper into her ear, "we have to get out of here as fast as we can and keep away from Sister Dora." Before Mass, I'd fixed Ella's hair into a tight braid, and now, gazing up at me with her big brown eyes, it looks as though the heavy braid is weighing her head back. "Am I in trouble?" "We should be okay," I tell her, "but just in case, we'll rush out of here before Sister Dora can catch up to us. Got it?" "Got it," she says. But we don't get the chance. When there are just a few minutes left, Sister Dora stands and casually strolls to the back, and then stands waiting at the door a few steps away. When my eyes reopen, as the final prayer ends with the sign of the cross, Sister Dora places a hand on my left shoulder. "Come with me, please," she says to Ella, reaching across me to grab her by the wrist. "What are you doing?" I say. Sister Dora pulls Ella past me. "It's none of your business, Marina." "Marina?" Ella pleads. As she's being dragged away, Ella looks back at me with scared eyes. I panic and rush to the front of the church, where Adelina is standing, talking with a lady from town. Sister Dora just grabbed Ella and pulled her away," I quickly say, interrupting her. "You have to make her stop, Adelina." She looks incredulously at me. "I will do no such thing, and it's Sister Adelina. If you'll excuse me, Marina, I was in the middle of a conversation," she says. I shake my head at her. Tears form in my eyes. Adelina doesn't remember what it feels like to ask for help and not receive it. I turn and run from the room and up the winding staircase to the church office. To the left, at the end of the hall, the only door closed is the one leading to Sister Lucia's office. Lucia's office. I race towards it, trying to decide what I should do. Should I knock? Should I kick straight through it? But I don't get the chance to do either. When I'm within reaching distance of the knob, I hear the crack of the paddle, followed instantly by a scream. I'm frozen in shock. Ella cries on the other side of the door, and a second later the door is opened by Sister Dora. "What are you doing here?" she snaps at me. I came to see Sister Lucia," I lie. "She's not here, and you're due in the kitchen. Go on," she says, shooing me the way I came. "I'm headed there myself." "Is she okay?" "Marina, it's none of your concern," she says, and then grabs me by the biceps, spins me around, and gives me a shove. "Go," she orders. I move away from the office, hating the fear that runs through me every time confrontation stares me in the face. It's always been that way, with the sisters, with Gabriela Garcia, with Bonita on the dock. I get the same feeling, the same nervousness that quickly segues to dread, that always causes me to walk away. "Walk faster," Sister Dora barks, following me down the staircase and towards the kitchen where El Festin duties await. "I have to use the restroom," I say before we reach the kitchen, which is a lie. I want to make sure Ella's okay. "Fine, but you better make it fast. I'm timing you." "I will." I duck around the corner and wait 30 seconds to make sure she's gone. Then I rush back the way we came, up the staircase, down the hall. The office door is slightly ajar and I walk through it. The interior is dark, somber. A layer of dust covers the shelves that line the walls, upon which sit ancient books. The only light enters through a dirty stained glass window. "Ella?" I say, for some reason, thinking she might be hiding. No answer. I walk away and poke my head in the rooms situated off the main hallway, all of which are empty. I call her name as I go. At the hall's opposite end is the sister's sleeping quarters. There's no sign of her in there either. I go back down the stairs. The crowd has made its way to the cafeteria. I walk to the nave looking around for Ella. She's not in there, nor is she in either of the 2 sleeping rooms, nor the computer room, nor any of the storage rooms. By the time I've looked in most places I can think to check, a half hour has passed, and I know I'll be in trouble if I go to the cafeteria. Instead, I hurry out of my Sunday clothes, pull my coat off its hook, swipe the blanket from my bed, and dash outside. I trudge through the snow away from town, unable to push the sound with the paddle's crack and Ella's scream from my mind. I'm so unable to forgive Adelina's scorn towards me. My whole body tense. I focus my energy on some of the large rocks I pass, using telekinesis to lift and hurl them against the mountainside. It's a great way to blow off steam. The snow's surface has hardened, creating a thin layer of ice that crunches underfoot. But it doesn't keep the rocks from skidding downhill. I'm so mad I could let them go, careening towards town, but I stop them in their tracks. My gripe isn't with the town, but rather its namesake, and those who live within it. I pass the camel's back, half a kilometer to go. The sun is warm on my face, situated high in the sky and slanted towards the east, which means I have at least 5 hours before I'm due back. I haven't had this much free time in a great while, and with the bright sun and crisp fresh wind pulling me from my dismal mood, I hardly care that I'll be in trouble when I get back. I turn to see how effective my blanket cape is at hiding my prints in the hardened snow, and I'm afraid to see that it hasn't worked at all today. Nevertheless, I push forward until I spot the rounded shrub sticking up over the snow. Then I race towards it. At first not noticing the very things my eyes should be attuned to, that the snow at the base of the cave is tossed up and pushed around. But as soon as I reach the cave's entrance, I know immediately that something is horribly off. Approaching from the south, a single set of boot prints, double the size of my own, dot the mountainside, a perfect straight line, cut into the snow leading from town to the cave. They seem to tromp around its opening, as though circling it. I'm flustered, certain there's something else here I'm missing. And then it dawns on me, the prints. They lead into the cave, but they don't lead back out. Whoever they belong to is still inside. Chapter 12. They're here, I think. After all these years, the Mogadorians are finally here. I turn so fast I slip and fall into the snow. I quickly crawl backwards away from the cave's mouth, my shoes tangled in the blanket. Tears well up in my eyes, my heart races. I manage to right myself and sprint as hard and as fast as my legs will carry me. I don't even look behind me to see if I'm being followed, sweeping across the same snowy terrain I just hiked through, moving so fast I hardly take note of where my feet are falling. The trees below me begin to blur, as do the clouds above. I can feel the blanket hovering behind my shoulders, flapping in the wind like a superhero's cape. I trip once and slide across the ground, but immediately scramble to my feet and sprint onward, jumping straight over the camel's back, again crashing when I land, and then I finally dash past the birch trees and make it back to the convent. The hike there took nearly 25 minutes. The sprint back took less than 5. Like the ability to breathe underwater, the legacy of super speed presents itself when I need it to. I untie the blanket from around my neck, burst through the double doors, and hear the lunchtime clatter coming from the dining room. I hurry up the winding staircase and down the narrow hall, knowing it's Adelina's turn to take Sunday off. I enter the open room where the sisters sleep. Adelina sits regally in one of the 2 high-backed chairs, Bible in her lap. She closes it when she sees me coming. "Why aren't you at lunch?" she asks. "I think they're here," I say, out of breath, my hands violently shaking. I bend over and rest them on my knees. "Who?" "You know who!" I yell. Then, between my closed teeth, "Mogadorians!" Her eyes narrow in disbelief. "Where?" "I went to the cave." "What cave?" she interrupts. "Who cares what cave? There was a set of boot prints outside of it. Huge boot prints." "Slow down, Marina. Boot prints outside of a cave?" "Yes," I say. She smirks, and I instantly realize coming to her was a mistake. I should have known she wouldn't believe me, and I can't help feeling foolish and vulnerable. Standing in front of her, I straighten. I don't know what to do with my hands. "I want to know where my chest is," I say, not exactly in a confident voice, but not in a timid one either. "What chest?" "You know exactly what chest." "What makes you think I held on to that old thing?" she asks calmly. "Because you would be turning against your own people if you didn't," I say. She reopens her Bible and pretends to read. I think of leaving, but then my mind returns to the boot prints in the snow. "Where is it?" I ask. She continues to ignore me, so I reach out with my mind and feel the contours of the book, its thin, dusty pages, its rough-hewn cover. I snap the book shut. Adelina jumps. "Tell me where it is. How dare you? Who do you think you are?" "I'm a member of the Guard, and the fate of the entire race of Lorien depends on my survival, Adelina. How could you turn your back on them? How could you turn your back on the humans, too? John Smith, who I believe is a member of the Guard, is on the run in the United States, and when was pulled over recently, he was able to move the officer without touching him, just like I can do. Like I just did with your book. Don't you see what's happening, Adelina? If we don't start helping, not only will Lorien be lost forever, but so will Earth and this stupid orphanage and stupid town. How dare you call this place stupid? Adelina steps towards me with clenched fists. This is the only place that let us in, Marina. It's the only reason we're still alive. What did the Lorien do for us? They pushed us onto a ship for a year, and then they pushed us out onto a cruel planet without any kind of plan or any instructions other than to stay hidden and train. Train for what? To defeat the Mogadorians, to take back Lorien. I shake my head. The others are probably out there right now battling, figuring out how to come together and how to get to us to home, while we're stuck in this prison doing nothing. I'm living my life with purpose, helping the human race with my prayers and service, and you should be too. Your sole purpose on Earth was to help me. You're alive, aren't you? Only in the literal sense of the word, Adelina. She sits back in her chair and opens the Bible on her lap. Lorien is dead and buried, Marina. What does it matter? Lorien isn't dead, it's hibernating. You said so yourself. And the point is, we're not dead. She swallows hard. A death sentence has been handed down to us all, she says, and her voice slightly cracks. Then, in a much softer tone, she says, our lives were doomed from the beginning. We should do good while we're here, so we may have a good afterlife. How can you say that? Because that's the reality. We're the last of a dying race, and soon we'll be gone too, and may God help us when the time comes. I shake my head at her. I have no interest in talking about God. Where's my chest? In this room? I walk around the room, casting my gaze along the ceiling's edges, and then I crouch and peer beneath a few of the beds. Even if you had it, you can't open it without me, she says. You know that. She's right. If I'm to believe what she'd told me years before, when I could still trust the things she said, then I can't open it without her. The futility of it hits me all at once. The boot prints in the snow, John Smith on the run, the sheer and utter claustrophobia of Santa Teresa and Adelina, my C-PAN, meant to help and assist in developing my legacy, who has given up on our mission. She doesn't even know what legacies of mine have developed. I have the ability to see in the dark, breathe underwater, to run at super speeds, to move things with my mind. And the means to bring plants back from the brink of death. Anxiety sweeps over me, and at the worst possible moment, Sister Dora enters the room. She props her fists on her hips. Why aren't you in the kitchen? I look at her and mirror the same scowl she's giving me. Oh, shut up, I say, and march out of the room before she responds. I run down the hall, down the stairs, grab my coat again, and push through the double doors. I look wildly around as I move within the shadows lining the side of the road. Though I still feel as though I'm being watched, outside nothing seems amiss. I race down the hill without letting my guard down, and when I reach the cafe, I enter because it's the only place open. About half of its 20 tables are occupied, which I'm thankful for. I have the urge to be surrounded by people. I'm about to sit when I notice Hector, alone in the corner, drinking wine. Why aren't you at El Festin? He glances up. He's clean-shaven, and his eyes appear clear and sharp. He seems well-rested. He's even well-dressed. I haven't seen him this way in quite a while. I wonder how long it will last. I thought you didn't drink on Sunday, I say, and immediately wish I hadn't. Hector and Ella are my only friends at the moment, and one has already disappeared today. I don't want to upset Hector as well. I thought so too, he says, not taking offense. If you ever know a man who tries to drown his sorrows, kindly inform him his sorrows know how to swim. Here. Sit down, he says, kicking out the chair across from him. I plop down in it. How are you? I hate this place, Hector. I hate it with everything inside of me. Bad day? Every day is bad here. This place isn't so terrible. How are you always so cheerful? Alcohol, he says with a sideways grin. He pours himself what looks to be his first glass from the bottle. I wouldn't recommend it to others. I wouldn't recommend it to others, but it seems to work for me. Oh, Hector, I say. I wish you wouldn't drink so much. He chuckles, takes a sip. You know what I wish? What? That you didn't look so sad all the time, Marina of the Sea. I didn't know that I did. He shrugs. It's something I've noticed, but Hector is a very perceptive man. I look to my left and to my right, pausing to focus on each person here. Then I take the napkin off the table and put it on my lap. I put it back on the table. Then I put it back on my lap. Tell me what is troubling you, Hector says, then takes a larger sip. Absolutely everything. Everything. Even me. I shake my head. Okay, not everything. His eyebrows rise and then furrow. Now tell me. I have a deep urge to tell him my secret, the reason I'm here and where it is I really come from. I want to tell him about Adelina and what her role was supposed to be and what it has instead become. I want him to know about the others, out there on the run or fighting, maybe sitting idly like me collecting dust. If there's one person I'm certain would be my ally, who would help me in any way he could, then surely it's Hector. He is, after all, a defender who's meant to hold fast and who was born into power and bravery by such simple means as the name he was given. You ever feel like you don't belong here, Hector? Sure, some days. Why do you stay then? You could go anywhere. He shrugs. Several reasons. He pours more wine into his glass. For one, there's no one else to take care of my mother. Plus, this place is my home, and I'm not convinced there's much better out there. My experiences have taught me that things rarely improve with a simple change of scenery. Maybe so, but I still can't wait to leave. I only have a little over 4 months left at the orphanage, and you can't tell anyone this, but I think that I'm going to leave sooner than that. I don't think that's a good idea, Marina. You're very young to be on your own. Where will you go? America, I say without hesitation. America? There's somebody there I need to find. If you're so determined, then why haven't you already left? Fear, I say. Mostly fear. You're not the first, he says, taking a moment to empty his entire glass. His eyes have lost their sharpness. The key to change is letting go of fear. I know. The door to the cafe opens, and a tall man wearing a long coat and carrying an old book enters. He moves past us and takes a table in the far corner. He has dark hair and bushy brows. A thick mustache covers his upper lip. I've never seen him before, but when he lifts his head and meets my gaze, there's something I immediately don't like about him, and I quickly look away. From the corner of my eye, I can see he's still staring at me. I try ignoring it. I resume talking to Hector, or rather, I babble, hardly making sense, watching him refill his glass with red wine, and I hear next to nothing of what he says in reply. 5 minutes later, the man's still staring, and I'm so bothered by it that the cafe seems to spin. I lean across the table and whisper to Hector, Do you know who that person in the far corner is? He shakes his head. No, but I've noticed him watching us too. He was in here on Friday, sitting in the same seat and reading the same book. There's something about him I don't like, but I don't know what it is. Don't worry, you have me here, he says. I really should leave, I say. An odd desperation to get away has come over me. I try not to look at the man, but I do anyway. He's reading the book now, the cover of which is angled toward me, as though he wants me to see it. It's brittle and worn, a dusty shade of gray. Pittacus that's a word. Pittacus of Mytilene and the Athenian War. Pittacus. Pittacus. The man is watching me again, and though I can't see the bottom half of his face, his eyes suggest a knowing grin on his lips. All at once I feel as though I've been struck by a train. Could this be my first Mogadorian? I jump up, smacking my knee against the bottom of the table and nearly knocking over Hector's wine bottle. My chair falls backwards, crashing to the ground. Everybody in the cafe turns. I gotta go, Hector, I say. I gotta go. I stumble through the doorway and make a mad dash for home, running faster than a speeding car, not caring if anyone sees. I'm back at Santa Teresa in seconds. I crash through the double doors and quickly slam them shut. I put my back against them and close my eyes. I try to slow my breathing, the twitching in my arms and legs. Whoa. Oh, some serious thunder. I think it's going to start storming here, guys. On the plus side, I did remember to turn on the lights, so it won't get dark in the video. So I apologize if you hear any more of that. I try to slow my breathing, the twitching in my arms and legs, my quivering bottom lip. Sweat runs down the side of my face. I open my eyes. Adelina stands in front of me, and I fall headlong into her arms, not caring about the tension from an hour before. She tentatively hugs me back, probably confused by my sudden display of affection, which I haven't shown her in years. She pulls away, and I open my mouth to tell her what I've just seen. but she brings a finger to her lips the same way I did to Ella at Mass. Then she turns and walks away. That night, after dinner and before prayers, I stand at the bedroom window, gazing out as darkness falls, scanning the landscape for anything suspicious. Marina, what are you doing? I turn around. Ella stands behind me. I hadn't heard her approach. She moves through these halls like a shadow. There you are, I say, relieved. Are you okay? She nods. Her big brown eyes tell me otherwise. What are you doing? She repeats. Just looking outside, that's all. What for? You're always looking out the windows at bedtime. She's right. Every night since she arrived, since I saw the man watching me in the nave window, I've been looking outside at bedtime for any signs of him. I'm now certain he's the same man I saw in the cafe today. I'm looking for bad men, Ella. There are bad men out there. Sometimes. Really? What do they look like? It's hard to say, I reply. I think they're very tall, and they're usually very dark and mean-looking. And some might even be muscular, like this, I add, doing my best bodybuilder pose. Ella giggles, going to the window. She stands on her tippy toes and pulls herself up to see out. It's been several hours since I was in the cafe, and I've managed to calm down a bit. I place my index finger on the foggy window and trace a figure onto it with 2 quick squeaks. That's the number 3, Ella says. That's right, kiddo. I bet you can do better than that, huh? She smiles, sticks her finger onto the bottom of the window, and soon there is the beginning of a beautiful farmhouse and backyard barn. I watch as my number 3 is absorbed by Ella's perfect silo. 3 is the only reason I was allowed to leave that cafe. Today, it's the distance from John Smith to myself. I'm now absolutely convinced that he is number 4 by the way he's being hunted, just as I'm convinced the man at the cafe was a Mogadorian. This town is so small, I rarely see someone I don't recognize. And his book, Pittacus of Mytilene and the Atlantean War, plus his constant stare, are no coincidence. The name Pittacus is one I've heard since childhood, since long before we made it to Santa Teresa. My number, 7. It's my only refuge now, my greatest defense. As unfair as it might be, I'm separated by death by the 3 others who all must die before me, so long as the charm holds, which I assume is why I was left alone and not attacked right at the cafe table. But one thing is certain. If he is a Mogadorian, they know where I am, and they could take me any time they choose and hold me until they kill 4 through 6. I wish I knew what's keeping them at bay and why I'm allowed to sleep in my bed again tonight. I know the charm ensures that we can't be killed out of order, but perhaps there's more to it than that. You and I, we're a team now, I say. Ella puts the finishing touches on her window drawing, curling her fingernails over the heads of a few cows to give them horns. You want to be a team with me? She asks in a tone of disbelief. You bet, I say, and hold out my pinky. Let's pinky swear on it. She smiles widely and hooks her pinky around mine. I shake it once. There, that settles it, I say. We turn back to the window, and Ella wipes her picture away with the heel of her hand. I don't like it here. I don't like it here either, believe me, but don't worry. We'll both be out of here soon enough. Do you think so? We'll leave together? I turn and look at her. That wasn't what I had meant at all, but without thinking twice, I nod in agreement. I hope it isn't something I'll regret promising. If you're still here when I leave, then we'll leave together. Deal? Deal, and I won't let them hurt you. Who? I ask. The bad man. I smile. I would appreciate that very much. She leaves the window and walks to another, again pulling herself up to look out. As always, she moves like a ghost, making no sound. I still have no idea where she might have hidden today, but wherever it was clearly a place no one would think to look, and then an idea occurs to me. Hey, Ella? I need your help, I say. Ella drops from the window and looks at me expectantly. I'm trying to find something here, but it's hidden. What is it? She asks, leaning forward in excitement. It's a chest. It's wooden and looks very old, like you might expect to see on a pirate ship. And it's here? I nod. It's here somewhere, but I have no idea where. Somebody did a very good job of hiding it. You're just about the most clever little girl I know. I bet you could find it in no time. She beams, rapidly nodding her head. I'll find it for you, Marina. We're a team. That's right, I agree. we're a team. Alright, so that was the end of chapter 12, and it's been 30 minutes, so I think that's a good stopping point. So I think we'll be getting back with John Smith and the gang in the next chapter. Actually, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yep, we do. It's raining, so it's kind of storming. So I hope you guys are liking it. Like I said, sorry I've been kind of all over the place with speaking. I got really excited. I had a lot of sugar, so who knows, maybe I'm just like, yeah. Anyway, no interruptions during this video, minus the thunder and the rain, if you count that. Let me know what you think, if you're still enjoying the series, if you'd like the video lengths the way they are, if you have any other suggestions. I'm still working on figuring out a schedule that I should use when reading, so let me know. Okay, without further ado, that's Reading by Rhea. Until next time, bye!